Sankirtana. Translation: while dancing, Advaita Acharya would sometimes turn around and catch the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He then began to speak as follows. Text 117. Anika dina tumi more bedai le bandiya, garite panachi ebi rakiba bandiya. Translation: Sri Advaita Acharya would say, many days you escaped me by bluffing. Now I have you in my home, and I will keep you bound up. Text 118. Eta Bali Acharya Anande Karina Nartana Paharika Ratri Acharya Kaila Sankirtana. Translation: so speaking, Advaita Acharya performed congregational chanting with great pleasure for 3 hours that night and danced all the time. Text 119. Premera utkanta prabhura nahi Krishna sangha virahe badila prema jvalara taranga. Translation: when Advaita Acharya danced in that way, Lord Chaitanya felt ecstatic love for Krishna, and because of his separation, the waves and flames of love increased. Text 120. Vyakula hana prabhu bhumite padila gosani dekiya acharya nicha sambarila. Translation: being agitated by the ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being agitated by the ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly fell on the ground. Seeing this, Advaita Acharya stopped dancing. Text 121. Prabhura antara mukunda jani bala mate bhavera sadirsha pada lagila gaiti. Translation: when Mukunda saw the ecstasy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he understood the feelings of the Lord and began to sing many stanzas, augmenting the force of the Lord's ecstasy. Text 122. Achara utaila prabhu ke karite nartana parashuni prabhura anga nayaya dharana. Translation: Advaita Acharya raised the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help him dance. But the Lord, after hearing the stanzas sung by Mukunda, could not be held due to his bodily symptoms. Text 123. Ashukampa pulaka sweda gadgada vachana shani ute shani pade shani karodana. Translation: tears fell from his eyes, and his whole body trembled. His hair stood on end. He perspired heavily, and his words faltered. Sometimes he stood, and sometimes he fell, and sometimes he cried. Text 124. Aha prana priya saki kina haila more kanu prema vishi mora tanu mana jare. Translation: Mukunda sang, quote, "My dear intimate friend, what has not happened to me? Due to the effects of the poison of love for Krishna, my body and mind have become severely afflicted." Purport: when Mukunda saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeling ecstatic pain and manifesting ecstatic bodily symptoms, all due to feelings of separation from Krishna, he sang songs about meeting with Krishna. Advaita Acharya also stopped dancing. So some very elevated transcendental emotions being expressed and experienced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his intimate associates, as it says, augmenting or accentuating the mood, the bhav that Lord Chaitanya is feeling. Text 125. Ratri dine poda mana shoyashti napan yahan gele kanupan tahan udiyan. Translation, quote, my feeling is like this. My mind burns day and night, and I can get no rest. If there was some place I could go to meet Krishna, I would immediately fly there. Text 126. E pada gaya mukunda marura susvare shuniya prabhura chitta antare vedare. Translation. This stanza was sung by Mukunda in a very sweet voice. But as soon as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the stanza, his mind went to pieces. So he heard that verse. My feeling is like this. My mind burns day and night, and I can get no if there were some place I could go to meet Krishna, I would immediately fly there. So Lord Chaitanya's heard that verse sung by Mukunda in a very sweet voice, and it says his mind just went to pieces. Vidare, splits into pieces. Chitare, antara. Now, text 127. Neveda Vishada Harsha Chapalya Gava Danya Prabhura Sahita Yuda Kare Bhava Saniya. Translation: the transcendental ecstatic symptoms, disappointment, moroseness, pleasure, restlessness, pride, and humility, all began to fight like soldiers within the Lord. Purport: Harsha is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Harsha is experienced. So harsha means pleasure. Harsha, pleasure, is experienced when one finally attains the desired goal of life and consequently becomes very glad. When harsha, pleasure, is present, the body shivers and one's hairs stand on end. There are perspiration, tears, and an outburst of passion and madness. The mouth becomes swollen and one experiences inertia and illusion. When a person attains his desired object and feels very fortunate, the luster of his body increases. Because of his own qualities and feelings of greatness, he does not care for anyone else. And this is called gava, or pride. In this condition, one utters prayers and does not reply to others' inquiries. Seeing one's own body, concealing one's desires, and not heeding the words of others are symptoms visible in the ecstasy of garva. Neveda, disappointment; Vishada, moroseness; Harsha, pleasure; Chapalya, restlessness; Garva, pride; Danya, humility. So the Lord was feeling all of these emotions simultaneously, and they explains they were like soldiers. These emotions were competing like soldiers in these expressions of these praying bhav that Lord Chaitanya is experiencing. So he's very ecstatic, very relishing these mellows. As was talked about before, it's quite interesting how, in one sense, materially, it seems like the Lord is in deep pain, but we know there's actually experiencing these pleasures, these ecstasies, and these are all explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The Nectar of Devotion goes into more depth about understanding these different bhavas that one experiences. So we see that Krishna consciousness is a science. It's not just a sentimental religious belief, but it's a spiritual science. And all of these ecstatic symptoms are scientifically explained within the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we've talked about before that the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is being published by the BBT. It's been delayed for various reasons with the team who are working on it, but that 5-volume edition will be coming out. Hopefully it should be this year, 5 volumes, very nicely presented, properly indexed, and done up to the standard that the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita are done in. And Prabhupada, he did the first 25 verses of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He actually started translating it, but he stopped for some reason. So that's included in this BBT edition of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And there's also commentaries by Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. I think it's Anubhashya, his commentary on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He did actually write commentaries from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And I think there's others by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which will be included in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So you'll be able to study and go into further depth about understanding these ecstatic symptoms and sthayi bhavs and the different terminologies used for these feelings and emotions that are experienced on the transcendental platform of pure love of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he embodies all of those pleasures and ecstasies. And the devotees, understanding his deep prema and his deep bhav that he's in, are assisting the Lord by, they're so tuned into him, that they quote these wonderful verses so he can accentuate the feelings and emotions that Lord Chaitanya is in. So we can see that the absolute truth is definitely not impersonal, right? Like with the Mayavad philosophy would say that, this is illusion, this is Mayavad, the conclusion that it's all Maya and illusion. So we can understand the absolute truth is definitely not impersonal. The absolute truth is sentient, and has emotion, just as we all do as well. We are also individual souls, and we also have spiritual feeling and emotion. And we understand in this realm we're in at the moment that those emotions and feelings are expressed in a perverse way in relation to matter, like so many mundane love songs that are produced by the musicians. And they're all a perverted reflection of these original feelings of love between the jiva and the source of everything, Krishna. So the soul of all souls is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is pure emotion on the transcendental platform without any covering of ahankara or any modes of nature at all. And it's a pure expression of spiritual ecstasy. So this pastime is also talked about in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and it's a very beautiful pastime. As we know, Lord Chaitanya has come back to return to Navadvip, and after taking sannyas, so the soul of everybody's soul is returned back to Navadvip, and they're having this wonderful darshan of the Lord, and it's explained the beauty of his body is explained as being like molten gold. Has anyone seen like molten gold before? It's like a very beautiful color, molten gold covered in saffron. It's explained that's what Lord Chaitanya's body looked like, molten gold covered by saffron. So very, very beautiful. And it gives wonderful descriptions of his physical appearance. So he was very, very tall, over 7 foot, and well built, and very, very beautiful, very attractive, with lotus eyes and saffron. So all the devotees are having this wonderful darshan of the Lord. I had some pictures I was going to put up of Lord Chaitanya, but anyway, it seems we're having some technical issues with the projector at the moment. So he just said, look at me instead. Sorry. So we can, I thought we could maybe go into this pastime a little bit further from the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, because what we're hearing here is the Lord dancing in this wonderful Kirtan festival being held in the house of Advaita Acharya. And the next several verses will continue on about this wonderful Sankirtan festival being held. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, it talks about the lead up to this particular festival being held at in the house of Advaita Acharya. So this is when Lord Chaitanya has returned back to Navadvip. So this is from the Anchakand of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. We'll read from text 179 onwards. When everyone heard that the Lord was in Puja, they joyfully went to see him. Old people, children, men and women, all happily departed for Puja while chanting the name of Hari. Even the atheists who previously blasphemed the Lord went with their families to see the Lord. Realizing that the Lord had secretly taken birth in Navadvip, they thought, without understanding, we have blasphemed his activities. Now, if we go and take shelter at his lotus feet, our offences will be counteracted. Because as we know, at Navadvip in the time, there was no bhakti at all. It was all karmakand, ritualistic activities going on, and jnana, speculative philosophy, but there was no bhakti there. This is why Advaita Acharya had called on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to personally come. So Bhaktisana Sarasvati makes a short purport saying, those atheists who were opposed to Sri Mahaprabhu and who blasphemed him during his residence in Sridham Mayapur also departed for Puja to counteract their offences when they understood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there. In the Skanda Purana, it is stated, O Lord, as the earth is the only shelter for those who slip and fall, you are the only shelter for misguided people. So what to speak of Kali Yuga, right? The denizens of Kali Yuga. You are the only shelter for misguided people. Speaking in this way, people rushed there in great happiness. No one could understand how many different paths people were taking. Unlimited millions of people gathered at the boat landing. That's a problem. The boatman fell into a dilemma about how to get everyone across. You can imagine that, millions of people suddenly turning up. The purport by Bhaktisana Sarasvati says, the word Kayari refers to a boatman at a boat landing. During the time of Mahaprabhu, the Sarasvati or Kadia River entered the Ganges, where the canal known as Vagdevi currently enters the Ganga near Nrsimhapalli. At that time, the boat Ghat on the Kadia River was outside Sri Mayapur past Suvarnavira, Godrum and Madhya Dvipa. At that place, people from Navadvip would cross the river to go to Shantipur and Pulia. It seems that Navadvip was quite vast at that time. So, move on to the next text. Some people made rafts out of banana tree trunks. So they really want to see the Lord, you know. They made rafts out of banana tree trunks. Some floated on overturned water pots, and some simply swam across while holding banana trunks. This is their enthusiasm to have darshan of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No one could tell how many people were there. People crossed in every possible way. Bhaktisana Saraswati mentions that in the word sumuchya. The word sumuchya means number. So no one could count how many people were there. Pregnant women breathed heavily as they walked. They also somehow crossed the river while chanting the name of Lord Chaitanya. The blind and lame walked together. They found their path was broad and open by the influence of Lord Chaitanya's name. Thousands of people would sit in one boat. After going a short distance, the boat would capsize. Still, no one felt discouraged. They all floated in the water and loudly chanted the name of Hari. Such ecstasy appeared in their hearts that they all floated in an ocean of great ecstasy. Those who did not know how to swim also happily floated. By the mercy of the Lord, they reached the opposite shore without distress. So you can see that, you know, normally in such circumstances of the boat overturning, you know, everyone's terrified. Here they're like, Haribol. They're going to have darshan of the Lord. So, yeah, destroys all fear, right? So they say, surrender unto me and I will protect you. Have no fear, right? Masuchahat, have no fear, have no fear. I do not know from how many directions people crossed the river. The name of Hari was all that was heard in the four directions. In this way, they all forgot their hunger, thirst, household duties, and lamentation as they happily travelled towards Bulia. It's a bit like when Krishna was returning from the pastures and entering back into the village Vrindavan, and everyone is in such great ecstasy. They have darshan of the Lord. They forget everything, right? Forget their household duties. The women were getting dressed and they forgot to put their earrings in, and like they just want to have darshan of the Lord and forget everything. Such is their great drawn, like metal is drawn to a magnet. The natural attraction is there, forgetting all other responsibilities. This is pure bhakti. As they all came to Pulia, they chanted the name of Hari so loudly that the vibration filled the entire universe. When the Chris Jewel of sannyasis heard the wonderful, tumultuous vibration of Hari's name, he came out to greet everyone. It is impossible to describe that wonderful scene. The Lord appeared as effulgent as millions of full moons. As the Lord constantly chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, tears of ecstasy incessantly flowed from his eyes. You know, one of the paintings that was going to be on the projector. It's an older painting, and it's Lord Chaitanya in the centre with the devotees all around him, and the painting depicts like Lord Chaitanya dancing in a pool of his own tears coming out from his eyes. It's an older painting. I hadn't seen it before, but thought it was very beautiful. So you can understand the Lord is just incessantly tears flowing from his eyes and creating pools on the ground below him. People in all directions offered him obeisances. Who can say how many people fell on others? I was just having a flashback that we went to, we were in Vrindavan in 2023, and it was during the Holi festival, and my wife had the wonderful idea of going to have darshan at Banki Bihari. So it was an experience. I can get a slight glimpse into what's going on here is that in Banki Bihari, all the bridge buses were so enthused to have darshan at Banki Bihari that they were just pushing and squishing and there's like people everywhere, and there's like one man had a baby, and I'm looking at him going, oh my God, and I had put my daughter on my shoulders because like, oh my God, we're going to die here. And then we managed to make it inside the temple, and then I didn't have a darshan. I was just, get me out of here. I mean, that was my consciousness, like, get me out of here, get me out of here. Everyone's like, I want to see the Lord, I want to see the Lord. And I'm like, get me out of here. And anyway, I can understand that pushing, and everyone's just so much bhakti and enthusiasm to have darshan of the Lord. It's an experience. I wish I could have appreciated it anyway. trying to save the wife and kids, you know. People did not care about the thorns on the ground as they all happily offered obeisances. Everyone raised their hands and exclaimed, save us, save us. Such are the wonderful pastimes of Lord Gaurachandra. Unlimited millions of people gathered there. All the open places and around the town were filled with people. We know in previous descriptions in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that when it says there's this many people here, you say, well, how is that possible? But we know that the residents of the heavenly planets from Svargaloka and the demigods are all coming down. So undoubtedly there were residents, the interplanetary universal occurrence going on here. People began arriving from various other villages, and when they saw the face of the Lord, no one cared to return home. Huge crowds of people overflooded the town of Puja and filled the neighbouring villages and forests. On seeing the enchanting lotus face of Lord Gaurachandra, everyone felt internally and externally satisfied. The Lord then glanced mercifully on everyone and proceeded to the house of Advaita Acharya and Shantapur. On seeing the Lord of his life, Advaita Prabhu offered respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord. He then began to cry pathetically as he incessantly embraced the Lord's lotus feet with his two arms. A very sweet pastime. And then later, Advaita Acharya, finally after his trickery, has got Lord Chaitanya to come to his house, and then he's seeing him and is crying rivers of tears and embracing the Lord's beautiful lotus feet with his arms. As Advaita had washed the Lord's feet with tears of love, the Lord picked him up with his own hands and embraced him. Advaita Acharya floated in the waters of ecstatic love. He lost consciousness in ecstasy and fell at the Lord's feet. After a while, Advaita became pacified and sat down, and his entire house became filled with ecstasy. Sri Achyutananda, the son of Advaita, was present there in the form of a greatly effulgent naked child. He was all-knowing, and his glories were inconceivable. He was most fortunate, being the qualified son of Advaita. Realizing that the Lord had arrived, the child smiling and covered in dust, came to see him. He came and fell at the lotus feet of Gaurachandra, and the Lord took the dust-covered child on his lap. The Lord said, "O Achyuta, Advaita Acharya is my father, therefore we are brothers." Achyuta replied, "By your sweet will you have become the friend of all living entities, whereas the Vedas declare that you are the father of all." There's a long purport there, but we'll continue on. The Lord and the devotees smiled on hearing the statement of Achyuta. They were all struck with wonder and thought, "A child cannot speak such things. Who can know what great personality has taken birth of this child?" At that time, Sri Nityananda, who was a Nantashesha, arrived from Madhya with a group of devotees. Oh, here we go. Lord Nityananda's on the scene now. When the devotees headed by Srivas saw the Lord, they began to loudly chant the name of Hari. They all offered obeisances to the Lord and began to cry as they held the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord embraced all of them, for he considered them equal to his own life. So we know it's one of the symptoms of pure bhakti is that it brings the Lord under the control. So the pure bhakti of these intimate associates, the Lord is completely owned by them and under their control. And there's these beautiful, sweet, loving exchanges taking place between the Lord and these intimate associates. The vibration of the devotees crying in distress purified the entire world. Those pious persons cried in ecstatic love for Krishna. By hearing that sound, all material bondage was destroyed. The treasure revealed by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya enabled everyone to relish mellows of love that are rare for even personalities like Brahma. After meeting the devotees, the Lord became jubilant. He then began to dance in the mellows of his own ecstatic love. The devotees immediately began to sing, and the Lord repeatedly roared, "Chant, chant." Bola, bola bali, bolo. The most powerful Nityananda grabbed Advaita and secretly took dust from his feet. So now the kirtan is beginning. The kirtan's kicking off. How wonderful was the crying, shivering, hairs standing on end, roaring, loud laughing, and moving of limbs manifest by the Lord. So as we were hearing from the verse, text 115, was talking about these ecstatic symptoms which are also being discussed here. So Advaita Acharya led the Sankirtan party, and with great pleasure he sang that verse. And there were ecstatic manifestations, perspiration, shivering, raised hairs, tears in the eyes, and sometimes thundering and bellowing. How sweet was the movement of his feet, and how glorious was the movement of his hands. How can I describe the sweetness of the ecstatic love he manifested? He then raised his arms and chanted, Hari, Hari. His ecstatic dancing was so wonderful that the devotees who saw it all merged into an ocean of ecstasy. The same Lord whom the devotees had lost was now seen by them again. So you can imagine that they thought they'd lost the Lord because he'd taken sannyas, and so now very heightened transcendental emotions. In their ecstasy, they all lost external consciousness as they happily danced on all sides of the Lord. Some fell on others, some embraced others, and some grabbed others' feet and held them to their chests. Some cried as they embraced others, and some spoke something to others. They all forgot everything in the happiness of their ecstatic love. The Lord of Vaikuntha danced with his associates. Such wonderful pastimes took place in this world. Nothing could be heard other than Hari Bola, Hari Bola, Hari Bola, brothers. Hari Bola, Hari Bolo, Hari Bol Bhai, Bhai, Hari Bolo Bhai. Only the thousand-headed Ananta knew the confidential mystery of the ecstasy that manifested in the house of Advaita. Then the Lord caught the Vaishnavas one after another and embraced them all with love. Whew, imagine that. In the middle of Kirtan, you're being embraced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, When will that day be ours, right? Having received the embrace of the Lord of Vaikuntha, the devotees became especially intoxicated with ecstasy. As they repeatedly roared out the name of Hari like lions, their maddened state increased again and again. As the Lord of Vaikuntha danced with his associates and devotees, the earth swayed under the weight of his lotus feet. The most effulgent Nityananda Prabhu danced around the Lord with great enthusiasm. Advaita danced in ecstasy and roared loudly. Seems he likes to roar, Advaita Acharya, doesn't he? Like when he was petitioning the Lord to come by offering Tulasi leaves to the Shalagam Shila, he was roaring. Everyone caught hold of whoever's feet they could. Such was the ecstasy manifested in Navadvip in those joyful pastimes of dancing and singing. After a while, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu sat on the throne of Vishnu in his own ecstasy. As all the devotees stood around him with folded hands, the Lord began to reveal his own glories. I am Krishna, I am Rama, I am Narayan, I am Matsya, I am Kurma, I am Varaha, I am Vamana. So he's manifesting his Ishvara Bhav. I am Buddha, Kalki, Hamsa, and Halada. I am Prishnigarbha, I am Hayagriva, and I am Mahareshvara. Bhakti Saranda Saraswati, as says here in his purport. In this regard, one should discuss Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, Chapter 3. I'm Nilachala Chandra, I'm Kapila, and I am Nrsinga. All visible and invisible beings are servants of my lotus feet. Another long purport there. All the Vedas narrate my glories and qualities. Innumerable universes serve my lotus feet. So Bhakti-Santa Sarasvati quotes various shastras to confirm that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm all-devouring time for everyone other than the devotees. Simply by remembering me, one overcomes all difficulties. I delivered Draupadi from being dishonored, and I protected the 5 Pandavas from the house of luck. I killed Vrikasura and thereby saved Lord Shiva. I delivered my servant Gajendra. I delivered Prahlad, and I protected the cowherd residents of Braj. I previously had the nectar churned from the ocean. I then deceived the demons and protected the demigods. I killed Kamsa, who was inimical to my devotees. I annihilated the wicked Ravana along with his dynasty. I lifted Govardhan Hill with my left hand, and I chastised the serpent Kaliya. I taught the process of austerity in Satya Yuga. I incarnated to teach the process of sacrifice in Treta Yuga. I incarnated in Dwapara Yuga to teach everyone the process of deity worship. Even the Vedas do not know how many incarnations I have taken. I have now invented to inaugurate the process of chanting the holy names. I relish devotional service and ecstatic love by inaugurating the Sankirtan movement. Therefore, I have appeared in the age of Kali. All the Vedas and Puranas teach everyone to take shelter of me. I always reside in the company of my devotees. There is no one more dear to me than my devotees. They are my father, mother, friend, son, and brother. Although I'm fully independent and my activities are also independent, it is my nature to be controlled by my devotees. All of you associate with me birth after birth. I incarnate in this world for your sake. So yeah, we understand when Krishna or his incarnations come, he comes with all of his eternal associates, which is confirmed there by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Know for certain that I do not leave you to stay elsewhere for even a moment. In this way, the Lord mercifully narrated these confidential topics. After the devotees heard him speak, they began to cry loudly. As they repeatedly offered obeisances to the Lord, they humbly recited prayers and cried. The house of Advaita became filled with the ecstasy that was previously relished in the town of Madhya. The devotees became fully satisfied and their previous distress was mitigated. The Lord knows how to remove the distress of his devotees, so how can a distressed living entity not worship such a Lord? Lord Gaurachandra is an ocean of mercy. He does not see anyone's faults, but sees only the good qualities. It's a nice thing to meditate upon, isn't it? Seeing only the good qualities in others. Ocean of mercy. Karuna Sindhu. After a while, the Almighty Lord concealed his opulences. He then regained external consciousness and became peaceful. Thereafter, the Lord went with the devotees to take bath in the Ganga, where they engaged in various water sports. After taking bath, the Lord returned with the devotees. He then circumambulated and watered the Tulasi plant. After circumambulating the temple of Vishnu and offering obeisances to the Lord, Gaurahari sat down to eat lunch with the devotees. The Lord sat down in the middle with Nityananda, and the devotees happily sat around them. The entire body of the Lord is decorated with sandalwood paste, and his face was fully blossomed. The Lord then began to eat in the midst of the devotees. It appeared as though Krishna and Balaram were joyfully taking lunch in Vrindavan in the midst of their cowherd boyfriends. Is that picture? Is that picture on here? No. Yeah, the picture with Krishna sitting down with the cowherd boys. The Lord smiled as he described those pastimes to everyone while taking lunch. Who has the power to describe these pastimes? Only one who is favoured by the Lord can do so. As soon as the Lord got up after finishing his meal, all the devotees eagerly took the remnants. Haribol. Even respectable elderly persons acted like children. This is the potency of devotional service to Vishnu. Any person who hears these topics certainly achieves Lord Gaurachandra. In this way, the devotees again met the Lord and again performed Sankirtan with great pomp. One who hears about how the Lord took his meal with all the Vaishnavas attains the wealth of love of God. Jai. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I Vrindavan Das sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the translation of Gaudiya Bhash of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat HG Chapter 1, entitled Meeting Again at the House of Sri Advaita Acharya. Jai Shri Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. Anybody want to say anything, any comments or anything before we wrap it all up? Vaishnavi Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. In the readings, you were mentioning how even the devotees who couldn't swim, just by the potency of Lord Chaitanya, they were floating, and that shows their deep faith in Lord Chaitanya. For us, the question is for us, we understand that we shouldn't imitate this, and sometimes even we hear the pastor, and I think it's Gauridas Babaji, he was very eccentric. So how do we apply this, having that deep faith and conviction that Krishna will save us? And I remember one class I was hearing my Gurumaj saying that when the cowherd boys went into the mouth of Aghasura, they said, anyway, even if it's a snake, Krishna will save us. But he says for us, we shouldn't exercise Krishna's protective energy. We should use our intelligence. So to what degree, or depends on one's adhikari. Can you talk?
I think you just answered it there, but saying, you have to use your intelligence. I mean, we're always praying to the Lord for protection. Even Prabhupada said, I'm always praying to Krishna to not let me fall into Maya. So, we just have to use our intelligence when there's a dangerous situation present. Then we don't just sentimentally think, oh, Krishna will protect me. No, we have to use our intelligence. That's what the intelligence is meant for, so we don't harm ourselves or harm others. Yeah. One has to use one's God-given intelligence. If one doesn't have it, one has to pray for it. But Mukam Karachi Vachalam Pangam Langa Tegirim Yakripaha Tamamandi Shigurum Dinataranam, those statements are there that, that a blind man can see, a lame man can cross mountains. So that's through the mercy of the Lord, anything is possible. Those statements are there for a reason. They're not just hyperbole, but it says that. So it's a question of our understanding and realization and development of our faith. And of course, faith takes time to develop. But as one matures in bhakti, then one gets more realization, revelation of the Lord's presence in their life and how the Lord is protecting them. So many stories that come out about devotees being protected when they're on Sankirtan, like in Germany, was it, that they were being attacked by a group of skinheads and they ran down a road which was a one-way street, and then they turned around and they were about to be attacked by these skinheads, and then the skinheads suddenly freaked out, turned around and ran away and ran for their lives. And some years later, one of the skinheads met one of the devotees and said, oh yeah, he was there, and a great lion had appeared behind the Sankirtan devotees, so that scared them all away. So there's so many instances where the Lord protects his devotees, even new devotees, he protects them. So we're always praying for the protection of the lotus, becoming dependent on that protection and shelter. It's a nice question. Any other points at all? All right, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. There you go. You can wear a floaty. Failing that, wear a floaty.